So Stephanie, you'll be first on this one. The U.S. Constitution states that Congress shall have the power to declare war. The President is the Commander-in-Chief of our country's armed forces, but the last time Congress deliberated and voted to declare war was in 1942 during World War II. If a new conflict were to arise involving an ally or a treaty partner, does Kathy believe that Congress needs to vote on any deployment of U.S. troops for any new war that arises in the future?
Thank you for that question. Well, you know, it's very interesting because Kathy is the first one. Well, Kathy, and I will say all Republicans now, we see that we are in what we call maybe a warm war at this point, and that is that right should be given to the people. And that is represented by our representatives in Congress. When we have an executive who can put our troops immediately in danger without the will of the people, that is a violation of our Constitution. So Kathy would only support those conflicts and wars that come from the support of the people through Congress and through the Senate. What we are seeing today is the fact that we are putting our troops, our resources at risk right now and engaging in a war with another nuclear power without any will of our people. And it's also because somebody mistakenly made a mistake in a speech saying, I don't mind if there's a minor incursion. If that's what gets us into war, that is exactly what the Constitution is protecting us against. And that is why we need to make sure that when we send people to Congress, they stand up and they fight against an executive, our commander-in-chief, who is willingly and negligently willing to put our troops at risk. And for that reason, Kathy is taking on Tammy specifically because we have a senator representing Illinois who has served herself, who sits on the Armed Services Committee and has yet to speak up against this commander-in-chief and give her common sense advice. All she is willing to do is go along with Joe Biden, who is willing to put all of our best resources at risk. So for that reason, we need senators like Kathy Salvi, who will actually use the resources and the voice to take a stand, even if it means going against the commander-in-chief. No more rubber stamps of progressive politics. And that's why Kathy's running against Tammy Duckworth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephanie. Casey, if a new conflict were to arise involving an ally or treaty partner, do you think Congress needs to vote on any deployment of U.S. troops for any new war that arises? And if you use the mic, it'll be a little better on audio. Do you want to hear the first part as well? Yep. So the U.S. Constitution states that Congress shall have the power to declare war. The President is the Commander-in-Chief of our country's armed forces. However, the last time Congress deliberated and voted to declare war was in 1942 during World War II. If a new conflict were to arise, do you think Congress needs to vote on any deployment of U.S. troops for any new war that arises in the future?
I'll tell you, definitely my answer is yes, Congress should act. Maybe President can invoke the act of war, but it is up to the Congress to decide that we are going into the war in a special situation. Good point is actually today with Ukraine. We have a situation, none of us wants this war, but we are being dragged into it and we don't know where that conflict goes. It may well end up in a nuclear confrontation. Russia is a nuclear country. And let's respect the fact that we are into uncharted waters. Therefore, I think it should be in the power of Congress within some period of time when it elapsed, when the President said, I'm declaring war, to the time when actually the United States can go into war. Right now, like it or not, we are actually at war, and it's getting a little bit more and more dangerous because we are escalating this conflict by putting more additional arms, arming Ukraine, and that's not something that may lead to a good resolution. Let's make sure in cases like that we use diplomacy to the fullest extent So it is our job to make sure that Putin is dragged into the negotiating table at all nations of the world. Speaking with the same conviction that when you stop that war, because yes, that war is, no matter how we like it, it's not right. That another country is invading second one in the 21st century. But it is the facts of life that we are dealing with, and we have to respond to it. And let's do it by the action of Congress, not by sole action of the president. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Casey.